College football is even more exciting with some action on the line. And the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Let's start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread. I've got a 40-year track record. In fact, in 2023, at $100 played per game, you would have netted over $9,300. And guess what? I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill, our ace in the hole, show stopper from Wager Talk. 6 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick, which went 21-5 against the spread the last 2 seasons. I repeat, 21-5 against the spread. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Steve Dace and Matt Zemek. Become a YouTube channel member or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2024 a winner now.
So, I think we're back. I think we're working now. I do apologize for those technical difficulties, folks. My voice should be coming through now. And if that's not emblematic of what we're dealing with in Fort Worth, I don't know what is, right? Nothing seems to be going right. And the 2 wins of the last 2 weeks feel like they were 1,000 years ago. As I was saying earlier, when y'all couldn't hear me, Frogs lose 37-34 to the dreaded, hated Baylor Bears on a last-second field goal. First win for Baylor after 4 losses in a row to the Frogs, and second win in 10 tries. Yes, perfect. Good to hear, Joey. You can hear me now. Wonderful. Yeah, now you do get to hear how bad TCU is. And hey, please don't make me do this by myself. This is a call-in show. Let's let it out together. Let's talk things through. Okay, we're gonna figure this thing out. And you know, there is a lot to talk through about this game, because despite the fact that the defense appeared to be on the up and up against Utah and at moments against Texas Tech, here they came back to their just completely ineffective ways. I mean, Frogs anemic in their ability to stop the run against Baylor. They weren't really effective at stopping the pass either. But the offense showed up, right? Josh Hoover had a tremendous game. I get some stats for you here. 25 of 34, 333 yards and 2 touchdowns, plus the rushing touchdown. I mean, he was back to form. The offense was clicking. Kendall Briles, frankly, called a tremendous game. But this is why we can't have nice things, right? We can never have the offense and the defense playing to their full potential at the same time. And ultimately, y'all, it all comes down to one thing. It's the trenches, right? The Frogs are not good up front. They're just not good, right? The offensive line is not effective. Any success that we have on offense is typically in spite of the offensive line. And I say that as, you know, as an accomplished middle school offensive line coach, okay? But seriously, there's things that I'm like, what are you doing? Why aren't y'all communicating before the snap? Why can't you see that blitzing linebacker, right? And Baylor on offense, I mean, you all saw the stat, right, that they flashed up in the middle of the game. Baylor got almost all of their rushing yards up the gut against TCU. I mean, it's unreal. I'll have to see if I can find the daggum thing. But it's just awful. And in situations when you know they're going to run the ball, why aren't we stacking the box? Why aren't we doing anything to stop this? I mean, you know, here's the thing. Bowl eligibility is still very much in reach, right? The Frogs have 5 wins. You know, Baylor got to rush the field against the 4-loss TCU team. Good for y'all. But it's frustrating, right? Because any season when you lose to Baylor, Houston, and SMU all in the same year, I mean, that in and of itself should be disqualifying, right? That's just outrageous. SMU put 66 on your head. Baylor, you give up an abysmal late touchdown drive. Houston, I mean, that whole game against Houston was just a nightmare. I mean, am I crazy that I feel like the seat should be hot again, or at least warm, right? That Texas Tech game, that's a game that we easily should have lost. Joey, welcome in, man. What do you have for me?
I don't know why. I don't know why I just popped in there. Sorry about that. I think
No,
I
sure.
think Well, I think you're logged into my side of the StreamYard, Mark Rogers. Is maybe why I was able to just pop right in there. But anyway, man, didn't mean to crash your show like that. So
Oh,
I didn't get to watch a snap of football all day long. I have been moving, and we're moving into our new house today, and I've not got to watch a snap of football. I'm really pissed because of, Kansas State losing, Iowa State losing, and now you guys losing. It's like, wow. Any team in the Big 12 playoff ready, and BYU's the closest thing right now for sure. And I'm still not sold on BYU.
yeah. I mean, I've loved what I've seen from BYU this year. I mean, the defense has been great, and Retzlaff has done what he's had to do. I mean, they're carrying the banner for the conference right now, so we all got to be on the BYU train. That's the reality right now.
Yeah, we
Um,
do.
okay, so here, Eddie Lozano, thanks for the super chat, friend, for a cheap shot of tequila. Yeah, the air raid has to go. That's a hot take, man. I mean, everyone's running the air raid these days. Um, I don't. I don't know how you can look at this game and say the offense is the problem. Josh Hoover he played tremendously today. And the rushing attack was stop and go. Savion Williams yet again is the only way that we're able to get some success in the rushing attack with some help from Jeremy Payne. But that comes down to the offensive line. That's not a scheme issue. This is a skill issue. That the offensive line is not doing what they need to do. Hey, and here's a thought for you, Eddie, and for everyone else, right? And just my mind's eye of one of the biggest issues is with our offensive line. Josh Hoover gets hit late, right? In the second half of that game. They don't throw a flag. That's fine. That's whatever. But no offensive lineman has anything to say or anything to do in response to that. That's a problem. That is a culture issue, man. You do not let your quarterback get touched like that. And that to me says everything that I need to know about the issues of this offensive line. I'm gonna let my dog in real quick.
Okay. So you're thinking it's a culture issue there. So the quarterback needs to take the offensive line out for a steak dinner and try to get some culture built around them and figure things out. Is that what you're saying?
I don't think it's something necessarily that Josh needs to do. I think this is something that, I mean, as an offensive lineman, that ought to be baked into your DNA, right? I mean, you play offensive line because you're into two things. You're into beating a dude up in front of you, right? Because that's freaking fun.
Right.
And you're also into protecting those guys behind you, right? And if you don't have that instinct in you, that's something hard to cultivate in a person. It's hard to get someone to care about protecting their quarterback. That's something that you're supposed to already have. I think Devil Frog, you said it great. We have to get better in the trenches and make it a priority in every recruiting class, right? You've got to get dogs at that position. And I'm sure they're great dudes, right? I haven't met any of these offensive linemen that play for TCU currently. I do know the Brockermeyers fairly well as a family, but something's missing, man. Something is missing. And it's the biggest issue that TCU has had for these last 2 years, truly, is lack of physicality in the offensive line. And now, especially without Dominic Williams, lack of presence on the defensive line, right? I mean, linebackers can't fill gaps as effectively when your defensive line isn't getting push. And
Yeah.
here you go. I found this graphic that flashed up on the screen for those of you that missed it. Here you go. And this was before the end of the game, right? They're saying Baylor ran up the middle 33 times for 193 yards and 4 touchdowns. What? This is disgusting. Disgusting. And listen, I've been saying lots of good things about the TCU defense. I think the TCU defense has improved tremendously since the bye week. And I think moving Andy Avalos down to the sideline, I think it's had a positive impact. But this is unacceptable. It's unacceptable against a rival. It's unacceptable against anybody, right? Not about it. Not about it at all. Y'all jump on
That's
in
one
here.
thing I like about our offensive line at West Virginia. We've got a good offensive line. They can block, and we got good running backs that can run that ball right down your throat. And the quarterback, either one of them, you've seen them both. They can both scramble and make plays. You've seen our backup last week against Arizona just absolutely annihilate them. I mean, he played really good. So I don't know what's going on though with our teams. I mean, I'm When I look at teams like West Virginia and TCU, we came into this conference. We were the top of our other conferences. We were
Mm-hmm.
we were we were the top, And now, and when you look West Virginia in the Big East, the Big East used to be really good with Miami and everybody in it, and it fell off. Miami, Virginia Tech left, Boston College left, a lot of those, so it fell off a little bit. But West Virginia didn't just dominate the league after they left. They kind of won the league quite often when they were there. They was beating those big teams, and we're coming in Big 12, and it seems like we're lost. We can't find our way. Now, you guys, you know, hats off to you because you guys made the playoffs and made it all the way to the national championship game. So that I think that's amazing. But other than that, y'all haven't done that much. You know, to really shake up the Big 12. And I mean, there's been some years that you have, and there's been some years that West Virginia has. But I'm talking about on a consistent basis for both teams.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that has truly been the biggest issue since joining the Big 12 for TCU is inconsistency, right? You look
Right.
at, even while Gary Patterson was still here, you have the best team in TCU history in 2014, followed by, what was essentially the same thing in 2015 that dealt with a lot of injuries. And then you have a bad year. And then you have the 2017 year, you get to the Big 12 championship, and then 4 bad years, then the national championship, and now we're back in the doldrums again, right?
Yeah.
Part of this is, yes, college football is cyclical, right? Development cycles are a part of virtually every program that's not named Alabama, with Nick
Right.
Saban, or Ohio State. So that some of that is to be expected, but the depths shouldn't be this deep, right? You shouldn't fall off this much.
I wouldn't think so. I mean, like you. I mean, I don't know what it's taken to run these NIL programs and stuff. And how much money is getting funneled into them. And I'm sure you guys at TCU have a lot better outlets than we do at West Virginia, as an example, right? Because there's a lot of money in Texas. Now, there's a lot of money in West Virginia too. Don't get me wrong, and we have a good NIL program. But can we compete with a Texas school? I don't think we could when it comes down to it. So,
Yeah.
but that's what gets me is that I think the NIL is what's making a big difference in things. Tell you a story, and I know this is a TCU postgame show, but I'll tell you a real quick story, and I'll get off here so somebody else can call in. Um, I wanted to tell you that the other day there was some big thing about Joe Manchin and Nick Saban and Gordon Gee and Ren Baker. So athletic director, president, and then Nick Saban and Joe Manchin, Senator Manchin, had a meeting up in Morgantown. And then they're saying, well, okay, there's going to be some major changes at Western University, and and Nick Saban's going to be coming to coach at West Virginia. Nick Saban ain't coming to coach at West Virginia, so that ain't happening. But now I do have it from some pretty good sources that West Virginia will be changing coaches this year at the end of the year, no matter what. We think we can negotiate Neil Brown's contract down to between $5 and $6 million and be done with him. So that
Mm,
that would be a good thing.
yeah.
So anyway, all right, man. Well, sorry I came in here on TCU show and said that, but wanted to come in and just say hi.
Joey, always good to hear from you, man. My prayers are with you. I hope you're doing all right.
Thank you, brother. Talk to you later.
Yes, yes. The great Joey Foster, ladies and gentlemen. No relation, but I wouldn't be mad if there was. Just drop the link again if you would like to call into the show, and just air out your TCU feelings with me. Let's talk about this thing, because here's my problem, and I texted a couple friends about this as soon as the game went final. It's like I had been saying for the past 2 weeks, and I believe I said it on the show. Sonny Dykes saved his job with those 2 wins, but really, I mean, the issues are still the same issues through all of those weeks. And for the vast majority of that Tech game, if we don't force a fumble there, I mean, most of that Tech game, I think there's still a tweet out there where I was like, this team is so poorly coached. I mean, I was beside myself most of that game with just like how badly we were playing. I mean, good gravy. It's just And like, I mean, realistically, if you are Jeremiah Donati, I mean, you can't crank up the temperature on Sonny's seat after you have a win against Tech and a win against Utah there, and you're one win away from bowl eligibility. If you make a bowl game, realistically, he's done enough to stick around. But it's just frustrating because it still doesn't feel like the answer, right? And that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about feelings. Eddie, thanks again for the super chat, man. Really appreciate this. Got to get a quarterback that can be a threat to run. I know he can pass. The running backs have to be larger than 180 pounds. Yeah. Can't believe they just discovered Savon Williams. He's the best player on – Savion Williams. Okay, he's the best player on the field. Yeah, well, you are correct about that. Savion Williams is the best player on the field, and he played an outstanding game. I mean, you take away that one pass where literally no one has ever been that wide open in the history of football, that Savion Williams manages to drop twice in the same play. If that's not a microcosm of 2024 TCU football, I don't know what is, right? Being wide open in the field and dropping a pass twice. I mean, shoot, if he catches that pass, maybe we run away with this thing. But yeah, I do like Savion Williams getting involved. And I understand what you're saying about a quarterback who can be a running threat. I mean, that is what Haas Haney is supposed to be. Right, Haas Haney, the true freshman, the quarterback in waiting there from Aledo. Everybody at TCU is very excited about him. But I love Josh Hoover. And Josh Hoover, you saw his escapability on several occasions, right? You don't think of him as a running threat because he's a pass-first guy because his arm is so good. And running Josh Hoover off is the last thing that I want to do. But, it's a shame because Josh Hoover runs out of desperation, right? And there were several times that I can think of that I could point to in that game where Hoove could have just stepped up into the pocket and delivered a ball, like one specific time where Eric McAllister was running wide open. But the problem is it comes back to the line. When you're a quarterback and you don't feel like you can have confidence in your O-line's ability to pass protect, then you're not going to have that confidence to step up into the pocket, wait that extra second and make that throw, right? You're not going to have that confidence to get your head taken off by some Baylor linebacker. Right? You're going to go ahead, tuck that ball and run it. And, Josh he's athletic enough to get a few yards, right? But is he Trayvon Boykin? No. Is he Haas Haney? No, as far as his legs are concerned. But also, he's a much better quarterback. He's a more polished quarterback than Haas Haney is at this point, right? It's not time to throw Haas Haney out there yet. Okay, Nelson, what you got for me? The ultimate question, just like with GP going into 21, will Dykes make changes this offseason? OL coach, D-line coach, special teams, never seen the trenches this soft. Yeah, you're right, Nelson. And that is another thing. That's another litmus test, I think, for Sonny Dykes' ability to stay on here is, are you going to make the changes necessary? Something's got to improve with the offensive line. Something's got to improve with the defensive line. And yeah, special teams. Let's talk about that 4th and 2 and punting on 4th and 2 when we probably should have just gone for it. Pretty accurate. All right, here we go, baby. Welcome to the show. Spill for me. What are you thinking? What are you feeling about these?
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
I
can hear you. Yeah.
There's not many things to say about how bad that defensive showing was. That SMU game was really bad, but that is like possibly one of the worst defensive showings I've ever seen out of this TCU team, like especially on the run. That was absolutely awful, especially that last run before the game-winning field goal. I don't know how that happened.
Yeah, 4th and 9, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're going to run the ball. It's not a mystery, right? Why aren't you loading the box? Why are you allowing this guy to run for 11 yards up the middle on 4th and 9 with a timeout in their pocket? I mean, give me a break, man. It's inexcusable. You're totally right.
Like the first game of Stanford, I loved Andy Avalos. He was like this was a whole different defensive scheme, and like this was way better than the Gillespie scheme. And you could just tell like this defense just looks way better. It gets to the quarterback, they could stop the pass. But then just the furthest the season went on, they could not stop the run. At all. No matter who is back there, they could not stop the run. And today was the worst I've seen ever since the UCF game, by far and away.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I agree with you 100%. I was very pleased with him during Stanford. I was like, hey, we've got some penalties. We'll clean those up. But yeah, it's the run defense that's been the issue. And what's even crazier about this is that we managed to keep Taj Brooks under wraps fairly well. Like,
Yeah.
how does that happen? How do you keep Taj Brooks to 4 yards a carry on 30 carries, and then Washington tears you an absolutely new butthole? I mean, like, come on, man. It defies logic. And I saw a telling tweet here. So Stephen Johnson, of course, in the press room says Dykes says he thinks Baylor coached better down the stretch than TCU did. In some ways, I think Sonny Dykes' honesty is admirable, but other times it's like, man, I don't want to hear that from you.
How many
really?
times are we going to have a good practice and then not show up in the actual game?
Yeah, exactly. Okay, Double Frog, 7-9 wins will still be a noticeable improvement. I mean, you're correct. Yeah, and 7 wins is very much still on the table. But I said before the game, I think if we win less than 8, I'll be disappointed with the season, and that's, disappointment. I think it's putting it a little bit mildly to say how I feel about the Frogs at this point. Yeah, it's just the way that you're losing these games.
Because they were in this game the whole time. It's just they could not stop Washington. He legit ran for, 180 yards, 4 touchdowns?
196 and 4 touchdowns on 26 carries.
It was all down the middle. That should be the easiest place to stop the run, is through up the gut, and they could not do it.
And
it was so hard to watch.
That was their whole offense. I mean, Sawyer Robertson, pretty pedestrian game, 19 to 34, 242 yards. But you don't need to do anything when you're running the ball like that.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's been the story every single dadgum game. It's just teams run. It will always be a mystery why Kansas did not just run the dadgum ball against us. They would have won that game going away. I mean, we are not a complicated team to scheme against.
Yeah.
We really aren't.
It really asks the question, how bad is Utah?
Yeah. Yes. And you know what? That is the one delicious thing that has come out of this season, is Utah just absolutely stinking up the Big 12 after all of that mess that they talked this offseason.
They were going to own the conference, though. I thought they were going to own the conference.
Yeah, I take quite a bit of solace in that. Jeez. But yeah, I mean, Frogs, we're looking at, if we look at the schedule moving forward, right, we've got Arizona at home and Oklahoma State at home. Both of those should be wins, right? Those are 2 teams that are in arguably an even worse spot than we are. And then you got the road game against Cincinnati, which I'm pretty apprehensive about. But you're looking at bowl eligibility is very much within reach. A 7-win season, like Double Frog said, very much within reach. But does it get you excited about next year? I don't know, right? You gotta make a lot of enticing additions this offseason to get me feeling good, honestly.
The only thing I do know is crazy to know that at Houston, it was like surefire that Sonny was going to get fired. Like no one thought the TCU was going to make a bowl game, and then out of nowhere they win those 2 games, and now I just don't see a way that Sonny gets fired at all unless they lose every game.
You're totally right.
I just don't see a way to do.
I mean, and you can't fire him after those 2 wins. You can't. But it just makes you think, like, well, I hope he can do better next year, because we're going to be stuck with him. Right. And I'm just not, I'm not 100% sold. I mean, Sonny seems like a wonderful person and a really, really good guy. And, he's a player's coach, but it's like, at the end of the day, this is about results, man. And I do not take pleasure in calling for people's jobs, but it's like, oh my gosh, like the results these last 2 years, it's hard to run away from the allegations of, hey man, you got lucky with GP's players. It's hard to run away from those allegations.
That first season was possibly the worst thing to happen for Sonny Dykes. Even though it was a great season, it gave him all this job security when he just can't recruit the same way that Gary Patterson did.
Well, and I don't think it's necessarily so. He does not recruit the same. That is an accurate thing to say. I mean, recruiting rankings wise, we're performing like gangbusters, right? We're getting a lot of talent into TCU, arguably more talent than we've had in a long time. But the issue here, to me, appears to be more of a culture and discipline issue
True.
rather than a talent acquisition issue. Now, talent acquisition on the offensive line, yes, absolutely. That is lacking. But we have got skill players to beat the band. It's just you don't have those Max Duggans. You don't have those Kendry Millers. You don't have those guys who are like going to refuse to lose the game, right? Because of what they went through with Coach P. Mercy. All right, I'm going to take a moment here. Pretty accurate. You can hang on with me here, but I'm going to go ahead and make sure that I let y'all know about Mark Rogers' new book that is out right now on Amazon.com. Disputed National Champions: College Football's Historic 1990s Reset. I haven't gotten my copy yet, but this seems like a fantastic read if you're a college football junkie like me and you remember those pre-BCS days. This book dives deep into the chaotic world of college football championships decisions during the 1990s. This pivotal decade reshaped the sport in unprecedented ways, leaving fans and experts alike questioning the system and legitimacy of crowned champions. Think about that 1990 year when you had Miami, Colorado, Georgia Tech, all of them laying claim to a national title. These were wild times. Disputed National Champions also takes the outcomes of the decade and projects those results into the BCS and various playoff models of the future. So what would happen if you had Georgia Tech, Colorado, Miami, all in a playoff together? It's an interesting conversation piece. So go over to Amazon, pick that thing up for yourself right now. Definitely going to be a great read. Look at that, $9.99, y'all. Come on, tell me you can't spare $10 to read a great football book. Here we go. So looking again at the schedule, it stacks up for 7 wins. That's what I'm expecting. 7 wins. Is that what you're feeling? Pretty accurate?
I'm feeling 7 wins as well. I mean, Oklahoma State is very winnable because all you have to do is stop Ollie Gordon because Alan Bowman is not going to – he's just terrible, so you don't have to worry about Alan Bowman at all. If you just stop Ollie Gordon from running for 400 yards on you, that should win you the game. I think they could definitely beat Arizona, though. Arizona is falling apart, but I do think they're going to lose to Cincinnati. I don't like the defense against Brendan Sorsby at all. And the way that offense has just been throwing up and down the field and just moving the football, this defense cannot stop them. They just can't do it. Yeah.
You hit the nail on the head there. So I've got some friends saying that they want to call into the show, but they don't know how. Link is posted in the YouTube comments. All right, there we go. But yeah, 7 wins. I mean, I will say this. It will be fun to be in a bowl game again.
Right? Yeah.
Watch the Frogs in just a regular old bowl game since the Cheez-It Bowl.
I'm excited to face Sam Houston in the Barstool Bowl. If we just beat one of these 2 teams.
Yeah, I gotta say though, I was getting very excited about a potential Pop-Tart Bowl appearance. That was really getting me going, getting me through from day to day, thinking about eating that anthropomorphic Pop-Tart. But
it is quite cute to see Baylor storm the field after they haven't won in 4 or 5 seasons. That's quite funny.
Yeah, I agree.
This is their Super Bowl.
Funny. Yeah, you're right. We're their Super Bowl. I mean, yeah. I mean, of course they're going to rush the field beating us. They've happened twice in 10 years, right? Twice since that 2014 team. But it's like at the end of the day, you're rushing the field against a 4-loss team. So, good for you. I have to tell y'all the thing that I am most upset about as far as this game is concerned. And it's that I am missing out on something very, very beautiful. Let me find the tweet that I'm looking for. So for those of you who don't know, nobody wants to call this the Blue Bonnet Battle, right? It's a terrible name. It's very stupid. Blue Bonnets aren't in bloom this time of year. Naming your rivalry game after flowers is lame. Shade intended, Kansas State. The Revivalry was the perfect name, right?
Yeah.
It's 2 historically religious institutions. They've been playing over 100 years. This game has now been revived after the death of the Southwest Conference. And so there is a fan rivalry trophy for the Revivalry that is a antique 1900s fire extinguisher that goes around. It's being passed around fan to fan. And I was supposed to be the TCU fan that got to possess this beautiful fire extinguisher. If only we were to win this game.
Oh, no.
And now, alas and alack, the fire extinguisher will not be mine. This is what hurts the most, y'all. I'm not even going to lie to you. It hurts way more than watching Baylor storm the field. It hurts way more than losing to SMU and Houston as well in this season. No bronze fire extinguisher for yours truly. And
at least we got the saddle.
Well, we do have the saddle.
At least that.
Yeah. Not at my house.
We beat Utah.
We did beat Utah.
There are always something good to come out of a season. There's always something.
Yeah.
This was. It started off so well. It all fell apart after that first half of the UCF game. Everything just fell apart.
Yep, it really did. It really, really did. We had everything lined up for us, right? And then everything fell apart. I don't know what else there is to say about that. That's just pretty much sums it up. Well, pretty accurate. Thanks for hanging out. Thanks to all of you for hanging out here and talking through this one. Frogs will be back in action next Saturday, 11 a.m. against Oklahoma State. I'll be there bright and early. Hopefully,
finally an early game.
Yes, finally an early game. So if you have not already, make sure that you are following the official Voice of College Football Twitter account. Some of you may be watching this on that Twitter account, Voice of College Football account on X for rankings, ratings, engagement, and debate. There is no off season with the Voice of College Football. Please do subscribe to this channel at Big 12 Voice of College Football and the TCU channel that we were trying to grow. And follow me on Twitter at Clint_Foster55 and my YouTube channel at Clint Foster Comedy. Still haven't put out sketches. I know, y'all. It's because I'm working on this documentary that I got going. There's only so many hours in the day. I'm trying to do my best. That's all you can ask for from a guy, right? But Frogs lose 37-34. Until next time, love y'all and go Frogs.